Welcome to the People Leaders Podcast, the audio resource for managers and business leaders creating high-performing teams. Join leadership and team development experts Jan and Michelle Turkelson each week as they explore both subjects from every angle. Through practical tips, valuable insights, and compelling interviews with leadership experts around the world, you'll learn how to bring out the best in your staff and how to give your best as a leader.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Jan.
So really looking forward to this podcast. We're going to share a resource with you. And the reason why we get excited about a resource is because the feedback that we get from people is that they love being able to use their toolkit. And as a people leader, you want to have some really good frameworks and toolkits to shortcut certain ways of operating. And the tool that we're going to use today is called the Johari Window. And what it does, it actually creates a little bit of a shortcut in understanding team dynamics. And that's the reason why it was really developed.
Yeah, what I particularly like about this is that, again, it's simple, it has a framework, and it steps you through a process to, better develop group dynamics. And it was developed by two American psychologists, Joseph Luft and Harry Ingham, in 1955, and they were researching, group dynamics, what it takes to, to develop better understanding communication in a group setting at the Uni of California. And the word Johari comes from a combination of both Joseph and Harry. They are. It's not some woo-woo name. It's very pragmatic. So, Jan, why don't you take us through the four quadrants, and then we'll just step through box by box on how people could use it.
So for those who are listening, imagine a 4-quadrant box. And so you've got the upper left quadrant, and that's number 1. And then to the side of that is number 2. And in the bottom left, number 3. And in the right-hand side bottom, you've got number 4. So, going around in a clockwise position. So number 1, we call it the open area. And this is what you know about yourself, but what others know about me. And we call this the open area because in a highly functioning team, you want to broaden and expand this open area. And there are a couple of questions that you can use to accommodate the open area or to expand the open area. And one way that we used it over a couple of days when we did some leadership training was we invited everyone in the group, in the team, to stand up and then just share what strength they have or how they contribute to the team. And so we went around the whole team, so everyone had an opportunity to share that strength. And then throughout the course of the training, we invited one of those people to stand up and reiterate what their strength was or how they contribute to the team. And it was really interesting that some people forgot what strength they said, because I invited them after we talked about what strengths. I asked them, if I was to go around to each member, would you have remembered what strength? And it's interesting, when you are fully present, you will definitely be able to remember that, because as a team, you want to be able to leverage those strengths. So we've already gone through what strengths you contribute. Then we stand up individually and get you to reiterate that strength. And then we ask maybe 3 members of the team to then share what strength they see in that person or how they see that person contribute their strength to the team. And again, like we did that throughout the whole course of the session and the program.
I love that, Jan, because what you're doing is, one, you're acknowledging the strength that you have, and secondly, the people are validating that, which is wonderful, which leads on to the next quadrant, number 2, which is the blind spot. So the blind spot is, what you don't know about yourself, but perhaps others know about you that you don't say, and that's why it's called a blind spot. And herein lies the beauty of being open to receiving feedback and giving permission for people to give you feedback. And in a newly developing team, we might, just focus on, so what are the strengths that you see in me that I actually didn't recognise or acknowledge then. So that could be a real opportunity in terms of your blind spot. Now, there could be. Now, as a team develops and grows, trusts each other, you could move into that area of development opportunities, or these are some of the things that I noticed about your behaviour that you may not know about you that could be a blind spot. But again, it does take a mature team that is open, who is willing to grow and learn in order to step into that developmental area. However, you could always start with the strengths. These are the strengths that I see in you that you may not see in you. And that could be a nice sort of pathway into opening up this opportunity for feedback.
And when we've done it with teams before, they actually talked about an example of support that really impacted them that person had forgotten about. And so, again, this is what I know about you that you may not know, the impact that you had on me. So it can be constructive feedback or it can be acknowledgement.
Yeah, acknowledgement or developmental feedback. And the other things that you may not know about you that others know is what people say about you. So this is a really great opportunity for managers who do get commented on from people who work in their team, but sometimes like they just, I don't know, either forget or they think, oh, it wasn't that important. But if you've got any of that information, that is still information that could be really useful in this blind spot area. The impact that you're having on stakeholders and colleagues beyond this team that you may not know.
Yeah, because a blind spot isn't necessarily a negative.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so we've done quadrant 1 and 2, and now we're in the bottom left-hand quadrant, and this is the hidden area. And so this is what others don't know about me. And the question is what a person knows about themselves, but others do not. And that's why they call it a hidden area. And so the question that you could ask is, or that you could actually bring to the table is, what I'm working on at the moment or what I'm challenged by. And an example of that came up in a couple of weeks ago when we were working with a team is that someone talked about their need for approval. And so they're always asking questions. So what do you think about this, as opposed to stating what it is that they think, because they're an expert, subject matter expert in this area. However, they were always second guessing themselves. And so part of the opportunity for them was to state what they thought. And then if they needed opinion, or the question could be, as opposed to what do you think, I'm interested in your input. Is there a way that we can develop that even further? So you can see how you go from approval seeking to achievement seeking. So the question is, or the statement is, what I am working on at the moment and what I am challenged by. So for some people, they're challenged by asking, having direct questions in a meeting that they haven't had time to really think about. So that could be something that they would share that they're challenged by.
Fantastic.
And knowing that in a team, you want to set people up for success.
Yeah. And then we move into the fourth quadrant, the far bottom right, which is unknown. And so, this is what's unknown by the person about themselves and is also unknown by others. And what we love about this area is this is all about potential. This is all about potential that hasn't been tried or tested yet. And it could be things that you have a sort of a latent or, innate ability that hasn't sort of been given the opportunity to come to the fore, or also the team. Their resilience hasn't been tested yet, or their ability to, take on different work sort of projects, for example. And so one of the questions here is about, so start with yourself. So what did I learn about myself? So is there something that is starting to sort of bubble up in terms of a theme that I didn't realise about myself? And what did we learn about our team? What did we learn about either the makeup of the team or the dynamics of the team as a result of going through this process? And we were just sort of thinking, what is another way to practicalize this area? And it's through scenario planning potentially, isn't it, Jan? Here's a case study. This is what's coming down the track. Why don't we give it a crack and just see? So what would we do? We'll do a SWOT on it, and and what we might develop as a plan. So that is one way that you can sort of test this unknown area.
Oh, absolutely. And another way, Shelley, is, when we talk about team agreements and how we're going to behave with one another. And so people say, okay, we're going to talk direct. We're not going to have any side conversations, et cetera, et cetera. That's phase one. Phase two is, so what are we going to do if we get off track? How are we going to bring people on track? And that's when you can bring those scenarios into play. So let's just imagine that has happened. How are we going to hold each other to account? So when we're looking at these quadrants, quadrant number one is the open area. This is all about contribution. Can you articulate your contribution, and can other team members articulate the contribution that you bring? Number two is all about acknowledgement and feedback, because this is about the blind spot, what you don't know about yourself. And then number three is really about a statement of intent. Like what you're challenged by, what you're working on. And then the fourth quadrant, which is the unknown, is potential. Yeah. So again, that's another way that you can use this framework at a different layer. And we really encourage you to download the resource and the template and have a go at just maybe using number one. So, Michelle, give us an example of next steps. So if someone was listening, they're a people leader, they've got a team, what would you do?
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to slip in. This really does tick all the boxes. I just had to say that at some point. So, the first thing is start with you. Just answer the question so that you have, like you say, run it through your nervous system first. Like do it on yourself first, and then do it as if you were in a team environment doing it, so that you know how the process works. You have been able to articulate your answers. So that would be my very first step, is download it, do it on yourself, and do it in relation to your team first. And then the next thing is that you absolutely want to socialize it with your team and just share the model in a team meeting and see if they're open to giving it a go, and then do the first quadrant in a team meeting. It doesn't have to be in an offsite. It can be in a team meeting, carve out 15 minutes and go through the Johari window, because what you're doing is you are building up their toolkit. And this is an opportunity for skill development for them and for you, quite frankly.
And not only are you learning a new resource and tool, you're actually building the capability of people to articulate what their contribution is in a way that it's clear, concise, and people really understand it. The other way that you can use it is not only just with your team, but your leadership team as well. So if you're a people leader or a senior leader, and then you are managing people leaders, you've usually got two teams. So you've got your senior leadership team, and then you've got the team that you manage. And so again, you can use this in two layers. So with your senior leadership team, which is across and broad, and then you've got your other team, which is narrow and deep. And we really encourage you to practice, because that is really what is going to make you a really capable and effective leader. And who doesn't want that? That's what we need.
Yeah. Okay, good luck. Let us know how you go.
Ciao.
You've been listening to the People Leaders Podcast with Michelle and Jan Turkelson. For show notes and other free resources, please visit us at peopleleaderspodcast.com. Do you know someone else who could benefit from cutting-edge leadership and management techniques? Please take a moment to share this and other episodes via your podcast app, email, or social media channels. Each share helps us fulfill our goals of reducing workplace stress and increasing job satisfaction for leaders, managers, and their teams worldwide. The People Leaders Podcast is brought to you by the Experts On Air Podcast Network.